Greetings, fellow Portal Masters. Greetings, fellow Portal Masters. I am Rowsell, and it's once again time to crash the Skylanders with the video I mentioned, the 30 plus minutes of me discussing why Superchargers is the best game in the Skylanders franchise. So before this video actually begins and I start discussing why, a few little ground rules. First of all, the video is going to be completely unedited. I'm not going to be adding anything in post, anything added in. I'm not going to record a separate video and then add it afterwards. This is just when we sit down talking to you straight up for a half hour, or at least a half hour or more. That's one thing I'm not going to predict. My computer is open, but I'm not going to be looking at the time. I'm not going to be doing anything like that. I'm just going to be straight up talking to you guys about this. I'll know when it's over a half hour if my camera starts running out of file footage. The best way to describe it. And I still might be in a big tangent in, so I may have to actually stop and put that in. So this may be a little edit for that. Just thought of that. And again, my computer is open, but I have no notes up there. I'm just saving an episode that honestly half hour, so I'm not using any kind of notes. I'm doing all this from memory, all this from myself. Along with that, there's not going to be anything coming up on the screen. There's going to be no gameplay, no nothing like that. So what I suggest you guys do is actually listen to this in the background while playing Superchargers. So just open up Superchargers, I'll give you a little time, I'll get you to do some pause at a certain point in a little bit. Open up Superchargers and play the game with me while I discuss it and why it's so good. And you can play along with me basically when I talk about levels and all that. But yes, that's how this is going to go. This is me just talking about a game for a half hour at least. You guys are more than welcome to your opinion, even though it's wrong. So I'm going to try to not go and go off track and everything. I'm not going to compare it to other games. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to try not to, that is. And we're just going to talk about everything in the game. So what I'm going to do in a second, I'm going to get you to pause the video and set up Superchargers, and then we're going to get right to the video. So pause the video right now and get Superchargers set up. Alright, Superchargers set up, so here we go. Timer has begun, but not officially begun. So, little brief history. Superchargers is the 5th game in the Skylanders franchise. It introduced a lot of cool new elements, cool levels, reintroduced some of the Skylanders, and gave us a lot of new Skylanders in supercharged forms and all that. So first of all, the big aspect of Superchargers was the fact that racing was involved. Now, a lot of people did not like the racing. I don't know why. Why would you get mad when a game that you already love adds a brand new feature that's really cool? And now, I can tell you it's not the most unique thing. Mario Kart did it, Crash Bandicoot did it, but Superchargers did something really interesting about it. They added the element to the game. If you look at, say, any of the other ones besides for Crash Bandicoot, Superchargers has a story. It's not just a pure racing game. Think about all the racing games you have that actually has a story to it. But, add to that, how many times can you hop out of your vehicle and do the story? The only one I can think of is like Need for Speed The Run, which that game is not fantastic. I really like it though. I have it for PS3. I really enjoy it. But that's one thing I really liked about it, is the fact that it is a racing game with a real story that you can play outside of the vehicle along with the vehicles. So, I'm going to start off with the vehicles, for example. So they introduced 3 different kinds of vehicles: land, sea, and sky. Land being able to drive on land, sky being able to fly in the air, flying vehicles, and sea, well, that's obvious, they're driving on water. The one thing I really like about this, though, is that the main game did focus on the land vehicle, but they always had side missions for sea and sky, and they were always really enjoyable. Some of them got a little frustrating. I wasn't a big fan of some of the sky ones, but I can tell you for a fact that I really did enjoy going out of my way and playing with some of the sky vehicles and playing with some of the sea vehicles, especially the fact that, they were pretty unique. And some of the vehicles I never really played as. I mean, on day 1, I got the Sea Shadow. I never even had Nightfall. So I was playing Sea Shadow a ton instead of the Reef Ripper like I did with Gil Grunt when I got him a little while later. Which we'll talk about those vehicles in a little while. One thing I really liked was going and playing the level and being able to complete the level 100% with all the vehicles as long as you have one of the 3 vehicles. You don't need a specific land vehicle. You don't need a specific Skylander to do that thing with. All you need is just a land, sea, or sky vehicle. Which the game came with a land one, so you can beat the game's main story with just the land vehicle, and then only one sky vehicle and only one sea vehicle. You can 100% the story with that. That was really cool. You do need one Supercharger to 100% the game too, but looking at that, it's so simple to complete the game compared to the other ones. And again, we're not doing real comparisons here. I'm just saying compared to other games, this one's super easy to actually beat the story with. We'll get into the story a little bit later, because that is definitely the reason why I love the game so much. We're talking about the racing element right now. So, Superchargers was broken into two games basically. You had the main story and you had the racing aspect, which the racing aspect actually kind of mixed into the main game. One of the things I really enjoyed about it was the racing. It's one of those games that I actually sit down and feel like I'm insanely good at. There's a video way back on Jap's channel. We did a live stream. It was me, him, and Striker Hero Camo. Shout out to you two. Haven't seen you guys in a while. I haven't talked to Josh in a very long time, but I know he's good at least. And Jap, we messaged on off. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this. And in the video, we played I think 10 races, and I won every single one of them. And that's not even an exaggeration. We played every single thing. We did land, sea, and sky, and I won every one of them. Because I played these tracks so much because I genuinely enjoyed them. I knew all the shortcuts. I knew which vehicles to use, which ones were the best and for me and all that. Which my top three are the Hot Streak. Hot Streak is basically awesome. The Rift Reaper was upgraded. Yeah. And the Sky Slicer with Stormblades. Those were my three mains. I used to use them all the time, and I still use them whenever I play the game. I mean, I was just playing it on PS4 a little while ago, just doing the racing and stuff, trying to get all those racings done, because there was a couple of time trials I found out I missed. Regardless of that, that's one game that I feel like I can come back and play the racing anytime, and even with a big break in between, if I haven't played Superchargers in months, I could easily pop back onto that game, pick up the controls super quick, learn the abilities and all that, and go from there. One thing I really liked about the Superchargers racing is the fact of the power-ups. The power-ups are just kind of like Mario Kart and Crash Band or CTR, for example. The fact if you're in the lead, you get worse power-ups, but the worst power-ups aren't even that worse. If you think about it, you get a shield or a regeneration. So think about it, you're in first place, getting dismantled. In Mario Kart, if you're in first place, you're basically fearing for your life because you don't think you're going to be able to get hit or anything. You're going to be hit all the time. They're going to be aiming for you and all that. With Superchargers, if you're in first, you're feeling okay. You're like, all right, I got a chance to do this. I can actually do it because if I hit up one of the power boxes, I can get an elixir and start healing myself up, which is awesome. One thing I really like about it, though, is the shield aspect. So it gives you a shield, then it breaks you down to your actual character itself. In the races, it's so much fun because all the levels are so unique. There's 4 levels for each of the things, for the land, the sky, and the sea. I ranked them all on a video on the channel a little while ago. I talked about how good some were, how bad some were, but every one of them have something unique to it. And they all have unique aspects, giving throwback to old Skylander games and all that stuff. And even in the villain quest, you actually take on old villains and new villains that was released in Superchargers, which I thought was really cool. Getting Chaos was really awesome too. Chaos was an accessory. You can buy a little trophy for them. A lot of people didn't have them, which was weird because you can get them now for like $5, I've seen. Actually less, depending on where you get them. You can probably get them dirt cheap. So the racing aspect was so much fun because of the fact that you can do so many simple things. You do a regular single race, you can do easy, medium, hard. Each time you move up the level, it gets extreme. It gets super harder. Once you get used to the game, hard doesn't even seem that hard. Hard seems like a regular race to you. When you play hard in any other game, it's extremely difficult and you need to be extremely skilled for it. And I don't want to do that. I don't like playing games that make me upset. I've never been a fan of those, like say like Dark Souls, for example. I'm never going to play Dark Souls because it'll make me upset because I die so much. Same with like Cuphead. I see no interest in those games because they're meant to make people get upset and get angry of the fact that they're dying and they want to keep trying and going on over again. I'm like, why can't I just sit down and casually play a game, you know? Which is what I wanted to do. And that's what Supercharged is for me. I feel like I can go in and play easy all the way up to hard and not be frustrated. Or if I get hard and barely get second place, like, oh man, I feel motivated to do it again. Which is different from the motivation that Dark Souls or Cuphead would give me in the fact that I lose over and over and over again. Mine is if I lose once or twice, I'll be like, oh, okay, I can do it a third time, but after the third time, I'm done. With this one here, with those games, I'll be like, no, if I can't beat him the 4th or 5th time, I'm done with it. The really cool thing about racing along with that is there's alternate things. So there's mirror mode. So you can take the same track and do it in reverse. So anytime you gotta go right, you gotta go left instead. And that gives a really unique thing to it, which you can do all of those on easy, medium, hard also. So that's 6 things in the game. There's also the little tournaments like the cups, which you can take on 4 of those. So so there's 3 different ones of those, and there's mirror modes. That's another 6 tournaments you can do. You also got the boss battles, which is 4 more of those, so that's a lot more added to that. And along with that, there's time trials. So if you look at that, there's so much to do in just the racing aspect of the game that you can have a full game experience with that alone. They even did that with Superchargers Racing for the Wii and the DS. Unfortunately, I have not played that game. I do own it for the Wii, but I've never had a chance to actually play it. I may play it in the future because I've heard that it's fantastic. My friend Jet absolutely loves the game, and I know a lot of you guys watching actually enjoyed that game too. For myself, I just never got around to playing it. I do own it because I bought the Bowser starter kit. They came with the Bowser, the Hammerstone Bowser, and the Clown Cruiser, and the game, but I never touched the game. As far as I know, I still have it. It's probably out there somewhere. Anyways, that's one thing I really love is the fact that you can just play the racing aspect of the game and have a whole gameplay series. You're like, you know what, I'm content. I'm playing a racing game. It's fantastic. And in Imaginators, they brought it back for the reason that people enjoyed it. It also didn't give the reason that, like, oh, I can only play my vehicles in Superchargers, which does make sense since it is that game. But with Imaginators, they brought the entire game back. So along with Imaginators, you still have the racing aspect. So you get to do those races that you already did over again in another game, and it's just pure fun. I love going back to Imaginators and just playing through the levels again because I'm like, oh, I didn't complete it. Like, I don't have it done in Imaginators on PS4, so I'm going to go back and play Superchargers again on that. So I'm basically playing Superchargers in Imaginators, which is really great. So, along with that, all the vehicles themselves have really unique aspects to them. I did rank all the vehicles on the channel a while back, and I can tell you that I really, really enjoy all of them. Some of them have their hits, some of them have their misses, all that stuff, but I can tell you that I 100% enjoy all of the vehicles. That being said, everybody's going to have their favorites, and that's one thing I love about any kind of game like this. You play any game, you always get your favorite character, you got their favorite vehicle, their favorite decals, all that. CTR is always my biggest example when it comes to that. I always love playing as Polar, which now I play as Sparrow whenever I play it. But the original I play as Polar, I always love his light blue kart. But you can actually do so much more with Superchargers because you can mix and match Skylanders to their vehicles. Of course, if you have the Skylander that's supercharged with their vehicle, you're going to get a supercharged boost. So if you have Spitfire and the Hot Streak, you're going to have that boost. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. The one thing I really enjoy about this game is you don't need Superchargers to play the game. Now hear me out on this one. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but Instant Spitfire and Instant Hot Streak is a thing. If you and your friend are wanting to play the game and you only have one vehicle and one Skylander, nope, your friend can join you. He just pops up with the Instant Spitfire and Instant Hot Streak and both of you can play the game together. They have their own unique Hot Streak and their own unique Spitfire. Now they can't play the levels outside with that, that's the only issue about it, but they can play the full racing with you for that alone. That is insanely cool. I love the fact that they added something like that so you don't really need the game for it. Look at Imaginators, for example. Imagine Imaginators was someone's first ever game, and they pop into it and they see the racing mode, and they're like, oh, I don't even have a vehicle. But they can beat the entire thing if they want with the instance, which is really cool with that. I love that so much, the fact that they added something like that. So you don't need the vehicles, and you don't need the Supercharger to play the actual racing aspect. That's the racing aspect. That's just the one side mode. That's not even the main story. We're not even talking about the figures yet. We haven't even talked about the gameplay. We haven't talked about the levels. We haven't talked about the bosses, anything like that, which now we're getting to. Supercharger's story is the best story in the entire franchise. There is no way that anyone can look at any of the other 5 games and say that the story is better than Superchargers. If you do, unfortunately, you're wrong with that one. That's an opinion I will argue with you, and I will argue to the death about it. I'm sitting here talking over a half hour, supposedly, about this. Looking at the story of Superchargers, it has a building arc. It's one that I really enjoy. As soon as we start off, you have your regular level where you found out that your friends have been captured, and you've actually vanished for a bit because Chaos kicked you out. Basically, Chaos found wind of you, kicked you out, kicked you back to the original world, and you've been gone for a while. But Hugo, being the smart aleck he is, I keep leaning my chair back, so sorry if you hear that. Hugo, the smart aleck he is, actually finds you and opens a rift, and you hop in your vehicle and you come and save him. It's really cool that they can use a little tiny computer to find you, and by they I mean Flynn, Callie, and Hugo. They find you, you go into the rift, you start going towards them, you eventually get there, and then you save them from that. The really cool thing about this part is there's chapters. So that's one thing I really loved about the level is there's 50 chapters in the entire game, but there's only like 12 levels. But if you look at it, each level has a majority of chapters, which we'll get to the chapter thing in a little bit. So you start going to the original game, you start going through the regular level, you get the hang of the thing, hang of the characters, you see the new thing, like the new Supercharged overdrive thing that you spin, and you could get a prize at it. It gives replay value to the game. That's the one thing I absolutely love about it, is every single time you go to a level, the same spot that you went to where that overdrive, where that little, whatever it's called is there. I'm sorry, I forget the name, but I'm stumbling. You go back the next time, and it's now a sheep pinata. And you destroy the sheep pinata, oh, and you get a hat. Well, okay. Next time you go back, you get a treasure chest. You open it up, it gives you experience. Every single time you go there, it gives you something new, and everything in there is different. You could get 2 treasure chests back to back, but one time it gives you gear bits, and the next time it gives you experience. And that's one thing I really like, is that it gives replay to the level. If you didn't beat the level the first time, it's perfectly fine, because you go back and everything is new again. The level itself is still the same, but there's new stuff to explore. It makes you want to go back out of your way to find everything. And that's one thing I really like, that it honors the exploration. No matter what the level is, it honors exploration. I always like to use Battle Brawl Island as an example. Battle Brawl Island is very simple. You think you just go in, you go and do a battle, and that's it. And it's the same battle every time. That's not correct. Go to the left, well, right, whatever this, whatever, you know what I mean. When you walk in, you go to the left, and you go up to the potions guy. You get the 1 potion to throw onto the guy to wake him up, but there's 3 other potions. They change every single time. Every time those potions change, it'll give you a new way to do a health upgrade, a money upgrade, a power upgrade, experience upgrade, something like that. It gives you little boosts and stuff. Along with that, you can talk to the guy and always change the element. So you can go in there and you can say that fire is the strongest one, but you're playing as Stormblade. So you're like, okay, talk to the guy. It's now more powerful with the air element. I was going to say storm element. That would have been great. With the air element. And then that Skylander is going to get an experience boost and all that too, because of the power up. And you'll be able to beat the enemies easier. Great place to grind when it comes to that. But the really cool thing about it is every second or third time in that level, if you walk up to where that guy is who changes the element, behind him is either a wish stone, a treasure chest, or something else, which you can destroy and get experience. Up above them is either a wish stone, experience, or something else to destroy. And then when you go outside and you walk all the way down, when you go to the right, go through the door all the way up to the top, and then walk down to the right, it's another thing again. It's something different every time, and there's a Sky Stones Overdrive up there, which Overdrive is probably my favorite one in the franchise. We're going to talk about that one in a little while too. And that's one thing I love, the fact that every single time, even when you play a default level like that has the same exact thing every single time, there's something new for you every time you play it. That's really cool. The fact that it is a vanilla level that's barely got anything to it, you feel like it's just the bare bones of a level. Every time it's new. You go there and there's always something new to find. I love going there and doing like a level up, for example, with a Skylander, and then seeing a wish stone off. So I'm like, oh cool, and I go grab the wish stone, and then I go back and throw it into the stone, throw it into the well, and I get some more experience for that Skylander I'm trying to level up. Look at that, nailed it easy. Or some money because I don't have all those upgrades. Super simple like that. That's a really cool aspect to it. I love the fact that you can always go to every level and it changes it up. And speaking of levels, one thing I love about it is the fact that you can chapter select. One of the biggest things I always irked about the older games was, and I hate doing the comparison because I don't want to, is the fact that you have to go through the main parts to get to another level. Mystic Mills in Trap Team was always my biggest issue. I loved filming scenes for that episode. I wanted to do a lot of, more episodes for that for my top 5s. But I didn't like doing that ship retrieval mission right at the beginning and then having to fly around and shoot stuff down. Sky Highlands is just like it too. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to do the the firing mission, the auto flying gyro mission, I don't want to do that. With this, I don't need to. If I want to go to Gladfly Glades and start off right away with the big battles where the sea mission is too, I can easily go there. I can hop right to that chapter. I can bypass the first one. I can quit out before I get to the next one. How many times have you been playing Cloudbreak Kingdom and you're trying to level up an air vehicle and you get to the part where you got to race on land, you're like, oh geez, I can't continue. Nope, just go to map, chapter select, pop up one more, you're into the next chapter. It's super easy. I think I did that in a video actually. I think it was one of my Odyssey Half Hours, or it might be on by now, or was one of them, if not, spoiler, where I went to the Cloudbreak Kingdom and I had to keep chapter selecting, and I was fine with doing it because I could easily not do the land vehicle with the driving, which a lot of people say is annoying. You don't need to do that. Just chapter select and hop ahead. Easy. So the levels themselves are fantastic when it comes to that, but we're going to pop back to the story because I did go off a little bit there. A little bit of a tangent popping up. So if you look at the story itself, Chaos bans you out, he finds out that you're back, and everything starts falling apart until he discovers the one thing that you've been fighting since the beginning of the entire franchise, the darkness. The darkness joins him. Eventually, he learns how to talk to the darkness, and the darkness talks back to him. And that's the whole arc with Chaos and the darkness. And the darkness literally does what we don't want it to do. It corrupts. It takes over Chaos's mind, making him do all these things that make him think otherwise, becoming a super villain. But, as you know, Chaos is not really the true super villain he always is. I mean, you look at the other games, he always comes back and helps us, basically, in the end. I mean, you can even play as him in Trap Team, and you can race as him in Superchargers, and you literally get his figurine in Imaginators. Actually, you team up with him in Trap Team for a while. So if you look at the way he handles the darkness, is you can see that he's a bad guy, but he still has the good guy aspect to it. And the whole time you're wondering, is Chaos actually going to succumb to the darkness? Is Chaos the main villain, or is the darkness the main villain? And you really don't realize that until the very end, which I will reveal the stories, the interesting spoiler reveal at the end. If you haven't played Superchargers by now and you don't know the ending, then that's interesting, especially since the game's been out forever now. Ooh, I coughed. So, looking at the story, it keeps building up in your Skylander. The main goal is to stop Chaos. You're getting from point A to point B, you're getting more stuff to unlock, you're going through all the levels, collecting more characters, and collecting more side characters. This game reintroduces the best characters in the entire franchise back to you. Skylanders you didn't think you'd ever see again, because a lot of them, you see on Trap Team, a couple of them came back or got added. That was where Buzz got added. Buzz continues on into Superchargers, which is pretty great. Shark Fin comes back, and my all-time favorite, Tessa returns. Along with new characters like Pendergast, Eon is actually a real person you can talk to instead of just looking at the figment of his imagination or whatever it is. He's actually one you can actually talk to and go do missions with. And at the end of it all, Chaos and Glumshanks join you to hang out at the end game, which is pretty cool. Along with that, Persephone's there's a couple of those side characters and some new characters, along with Pendergast and the shop and all that. It opens, and every time you go there, the world opens up even more because you continue on. Sharkfin is really cool because of the fact that Sharkfin is his name. I call him Sharkfin, don't I? Sharkfin gives you upgrades to your vehicles. He brings in his 3 buddies, they actually give you upgrades, and they will focus on modifying your vehicles. So you could have your regular old default vehicle that looks like a regular old car, but then when you put it onto the portal, it's this super upgraded version that you have. Because you changed out his wheels, you changed out everything, all the way up to his horn sound. Just click the stick, it'll make a horn. It's really cool. One thing I really like about that. And looking at the story is, while your character is developing, so is Chaos. In the biggest moment, in my opinion, in any of the franchise, when Glumshanks gets fired. I remember playing the game for the first time, and when Chaos fired him, and then Glumshanks appears on your island because he gets kicked out literally and lands at the academy, you're like, oh, okay, this is real. And Glumshanks has always been a good guy. He's always been part of the bad guy, and he's a big fan of Chaos, but he doesn't want to do bad. So when he joins you, you're like, oh, Glumshanks is actually on my side. He can be a good guy for once. And then he does the ultimate sacrifice, as I said. I always love this scene. It's in my favorite cutscenes of the entire game. I did the top 5 favorite cutscenes because it is my favorite game. I did the favorite cutscenes. My favorite cutscene is the one where Glumshanks sacrifices himself to save you guys. Because you gave him a reason, basically, to try again. And that's really, really heartfelt for a game that feels like it doesn't really have that in-depth of a story. So you look at Glumshanks, and you're all like getting sucked up into the darkness's void. And then Glumshanks is walking away, and you realize that Glumshanks is about to sacrifice himself to save all of you and save Skylanders the best he can. And that's all he's wanted to do, was he just wanted to he wanted to repay you for giving him a second chance. And that's what he did. He sacrificed himself. And at that time, you don't know if Glumshanks is gone for good or not. Because you don't know in any game if the characters are gone for good or not, unless you're playing a lock with me. They're gone for good then. So when Glumshanks pops back up and you have a chance to save him, you really want to. It's not just him appearing on the ship and you're like, he's my teammate and stuff. Then he literally sacrificed himself for your group. You feel obligated, but you want to save Glumshanks and bring him back. So you go to the Ridepocalypse Derby and you try your hardest to beat Ridepocalypse because you want to get Glumshanks safe because he's the prize. And you build off that. Along with that, you see that Glumshanks wants to save Chaos. So then in your head, you're like, man, I gotta save Chaos from the darkness. Because Chaos doesn't want to be with the darkness. Chaos wants to take over Skylands by himself. So we get into that story mode now. So all that's built together. You built up that whole thing. You have that huge character connection with Glumshanks and wanting to stop Chaos and all that, which you always wanted to anyways, but now you have more motivation to. You get to the boss battle with Chaos. I can tell you that this isn't my favorite Chaos boss battle. It's very simple in my opinion, but I did enjoy it. It's a regular one-on-one boss battle with Chaos. You don't use any vehicles, you don't use anything like that. You just fight him like you are with a normal Skylander. And it's really fun. I really enjoy it. You take on Chaos, and eventually when you beat him, the darkness tries to take over. He says, no, Chaos, this is my world, you're living in it, basically. And he's just like, flick the switch to do that. And he's like, don't flick the switch, and it'll suck me up, and I'll die. And Chaos is just like, boom. This is my world, you can't tell me what to do, and Chaos becomes his own man. Even though the fact that his whole goal is to destroy Skylands, he's like, you're not destroying Skylands, I am. In a way, he's really greedy, but it shows a character development that he doesn't really want Skylands to be destroyed. He just wants the whole, actually, you ever see the movie Megaminds? Megaminds is always wanting to take over the world, or what is it called, Megapolis, or wherever, I forget the name of it. But he always wants to take over the world. When he finally gets it, he's like, He's like, what do I do now? Like, what am I supposed to do now? I defeated the superhero, what do I do now? And that's what Chaos is like. Chaos just wants the fact that he can take over Skylands. And he just wants to keep going. He wants to keep fighting for it, even though he loses every time. And he's fine with that. He wants to keep doing that. So when the darkness actually has a chance to destroy Skylands, he's like, no. He's like, I want a chance to destroy Skylands because you're not going to do it. I can't either, but I'm going to try. And then Glumshanks is just so happy when Chaos takes him back. It's just really happy to see those two back together, even though, they're not the greatest, they're not the best friends. He treats them like garbage sometimes, but Chaos and Glumshanks are the thing. So you beat the game, and you're like, awesome, and it goes to the cutscene, and it does that outro boom and all that stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, and then it goes to the cutscene, starts playing that song, and then the words start disappearing. Everything starts sucking into this void, and then the darkness crawls out of the void. I know for a fact that not a single one of you out there playing the game was very adamant on this. I noticed that there was only chapter 49, and I'm like, where's chapter 50? I was like, interesting they stopped at 49. But then when I saw that, I was legitimately surprised when I saw the darkness come out and you had to do the final battle with the darkness. A lot of people wasn't a big fan of that one. It is kind of lackluster if you look at it, but it's the only game in the entire franchise that you can fight and defeat the darkness. Think about it. Every other game is you're fighting Chaos. Chaos is the main villain of every game, even though there's other side villains. Trap Team, there's all of those villains. With Swap Force, there's the little main villains in between, even Chaos's mom. But you fight the darkness in Superchargers, and that's why it's one of the best. Because the one thing that you've been fighting since game 1, remember you made the core light to stop the darkness? You literally got to fight him in Superchargers. And that's one thing I really like about the game, is that the main villain of the entire game is the darkness, and you get to fight him and actually beat him. Like, that's wicked. That's so cool, the fact that you can fight him with that. It's honestly fantastic that you can sit there and defeat the darkness once and for all. After that, Chaos actually joins you. He joins your team, he gets you a daily, which we're going to talk about dailies in a moment. You can play Skystone's Overdrive with him every time, unlock an exclusive hat, you can play with him every single day. Him and Glumshanks hangs out at the Academy, which is awesome. So the game's over. You're going to complete the game, that's perfect. Which leads me to my next favorite thing. One of the things I really like about any video game is dailies. I love the fact that you can open up a game every single day and do something. That's why I kind of like mobile games a lot. I love like Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. Every single day it gives me something new to do. Or Animal Crossing in general. Every single time I open up the game there's something new for me to do every single day. It's not just me continuing a story where I left off, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just love the daily aspect. So with Superchargers, I had beaten the game 100%. I had all the characters locked, I had everything done. Basically, the game was beat 100%. Not quite, though. Pendergast gives you 2 racing challenges a day, or 3 racing challenges. Tessa gives you 3 challenges a day. Hugo gives you 3 challenges a day. And you can also take on Chaos every day in a Skystones battle. Every single day. And they always give you rewards for it, too. So you can always come in every day and face off. You go to Tessa, she gives you little tasks like trying to get to the end of a level or collect this item or all that. Hugo usually gives you challenges like, go complete this supercharger area in this area. Go over and complete the C one in this one, and it teleports you directly to it or close to it, which is great. Pandagas gives you a racing challenge. He's like, just try to complete this level in this time. And you get the Skystone Battle with Chaos every single day. And Skystone Overdrive is my favorite one. That's one thing I love, is that there's dailies. There's one thing I absolutely love, is that you can go back and play this game every single day, all the way up to now, and play something different every single time. So along with going to the different levels, you can do different little side stories over and over again, and collect more stuff, and level up your Skylanders, and get more gear bits, or everything for it. And even your Overdrive, the little elements you can get to level up your number. I forget the name of it, you know what I mean though. It's one thing I really like, is that you can go back and you can do dailies. Dailies are wicked. I love dailies in video games. They're always going to be one of my favorite things, is going back into a video game and doing a daily. I still play games to this day wanting to do dailies, and Superchargers gave me that for the 5th game. And that's something I personally loved from that, is that you can do dailies. I said dailies a lot. Take a drink every time I said dailies. Speaking of, my throat's a little dry. I gotta take a little brisk break. Brisk break. I like that. So, we've talked about it all, basically. We've talked about the story, we've talked about the racing aspect, we talked about the dailies, we talked about the characters and all that, but we didn't talk about one thing, one main character thing. If I slightly turn here, the characters themselves. So the cool thing that Superchargers did, as I spin myself back again, was that they reintroduced some characters with supercharged forms. Some of them are obvious, fan favorites like Gil Grunt and Stealth Out. Shout out to Gil Grunt for being the only one to get 5 series upgrades, and even if you're counting the Awakened forms on Ring of Heroes, that's 6, even though they just became Deep Dive. And also Stealth Out got one, but some surprising ones, like with Eruptor getting a brand new Lance, for example, or Bone Bash Roller Brawl coming back, of all things. Roller Brawl, very surprising. Wasn't I surprised? I was very surprised to see Roller Brawl coming back, since Roller Brawl was fantastic, a fan favorite, and then just kind of vanished in Trap Team. Frino even got an upgrade in Trap Team, and then out of nowhere in the 5th game, Roller Brawl's back. The most surprising one of them, however, was Jetpack. As you guys know, I'm not a fan of Jetpack. I respect him, thanks to the Giant Lock, but I still don't like him. But Hurricane Jetpack is fun. Hurricane Jetpack is fantastic. I love playing as that character. But then you look at some of them, they actually downgraded them. I was never a big fan of Stealth Elf to begin with, but I think Super Shot Stealth Elf is lackluster. Don't know why they gave her a gun. Same thing with Sharpshooter Terrafin. Terrafin itself, not one of my favorites. Why did they give him a gun though? It's because they wanted to add something new to it. But then other characters I was never a fan of, like Hurricane Jetpack and Lava Lance Eruptor, those two became even better. Because I'm not a fan of Jetpack or Eruptor, they became even better in Supercharged with their upgrades. I mean, go back and watch the Supercharged Lock and just see how much I fell in love with Eruptor. Like, Lava Lance Eruptor became one of my favorite Skylanders because of that. He's not my favorite in Superchargers, because if you watch my every ranked video, he's not there. He's close to the top, but he's not there. But I can tell you that, like, I absolutely love that. Giving all these characters their own unique vehicles too was really fun. You got to learn a lot of things with them and upgrade them to the special way that you can. My personal favorite being the Reef Ripper from Gil Grunt, his supercharged version. I absolutely loved Deep Dive Gil Grunt. I think that may have been the best upgrade they've done with him. I'm looking at like Series 2. Let's think about it now. We got Series 2 Gil Grunt, Anxious Wave Gil Grunt, Tidal Wave Gil Grunt, and Deep Dive Gil Grunt. Yeah, Deep Dive wins. Along with that, they introduced a plethora of awesome characters, besides for one. If you look at, well, actually 2, technically 3. If you look at the superchargers that were released when they came out, there's one character that the majority of you watching cannot deny is one of the best Skylanders they ever added. Because a lot of you have either named your YouTube channel after that, or your username, or have him as your profile photo of Spitfire. You know for a fact that when you first saw that announcement trailer and you saw Spitfire in that vehicle, you were just like, that's really cool. He's a really cool fire dragon spirit thing. I don't care, he's a dragon in my opinion. I thought it was insanely cool looking at that character and then having the mixture of him. Because Spitfire is exactly what I want in a Skylander. Look at Bash, for example. You know Bash is my favorite. If you didn't, welcome to the channel. You must be new. Bash is my favorite because of 3 things. He's fast, he's strong, and he has a ranged attack. Spitfire also has that. Spitfire has the speed ability, he has the close-up range attack, and that big tornado thing he shoots off is a ranged attack. And that's one thing I really like, and that's why I connected to him right away. And I think that's why a lot of you connected to him too, because he's just that good. Along with the fact that he's a starter pack Skylander, he was just perfect. He's probably, as I ranked all the starter pack Skylander, he is up there. It makes total sense. Spyro is number 1 though, because it's Spyro. But looking at it, he was an excellent addition to it. Stormblade, on the other hand, another one that you can add that made something brand new. It's an air element. I wasn't a big fan of any air element Skylanders until I got to Stormblade, and then I gave other air elements a chance, like, you know, Lightning Rod up there. Love Lightning Rod now. Absolutely love Lightning Rod now because of it. Sonic Boom was one of my favorites. Whirlwind I've gained a whole new respect for. It's awesome doing something like that. And getting one air element 5 games later to make me go back and actually play as the air elements of the other ones, pretty cool, I gotta say. Even though I'm still not a fan of Gusto. Oopsie. Well, Scratch is part of the air element too, and I love Scratch so much. Regardless, looking at all these figures and all that stuff, all the new ones that were introduced, there's so many unique and cool aspects added to the games. I couldn't get over that there was a brand new thing that they gave us with all these new characters, even the ones that I'm kind of disappointed in, like Smash Hit and Nightfall, for example. Looking at them, the aesthetic of them are so cool. You got I was going to say the Chipmunk, but he's a Marsupial. That's right, I know, Marsupial, sorry. Of Smash Hit. He's a character that I personally can't do anything with. I feel like I'm not good with him at all. While so many people out there are nailing it every single time. They're like, Smash Hit's the best one because you do this and this, and I'm like, I didn't even know we could do that. Look at Second Chance. I gave him a terrible ranking because I wasn't good with him. But he's good with that. Nightfall has a huge cult following. Nightfall actually has a photo right there. You can't see it right now. Right, you see my Pikachu there, but up above it there's a Nightfall that I had a drawing from a subscriber of mine, and she has a beautiful aesthetic. She looks awesome, and she has so much cool things about her. Just for myself, I didn't really enjoy that. That's one thing I love about Superchargers, is the fact that so many people enjoy the ones that I don't like, and vice versa. It opens up a conversation of being like, I'm not a fan of Astro Blast because of this and this, and they're like, oh yeah, they're like, why don't you do this and try this and this? And I'm like, oh yeah, so I gave that a try, and it's like, you know what, not too bad. Even though I'm still not a huge fan of Astro Blast, I look at it now and I'm not being like, he's the worst one of them all. Because he isn't. Because opening up that conversation with you guys about these Superchargers gave me the opportunity with it. Now his vehicle, on the other hand, the Sunrunner, isn't great at all. But regardless, fight me on that one. Introducing all these new characters and reintroducing... Oh, we got a blink on the screen. I'm going to have to stop recording for a tiny bit. Introducing all these characters was fantastic, giving us new breath into the game, new characters and remastered characters that gave us a lot of second chances with them. Eruptor, for example, never liked him in the beginning of the game, and now looking him back into the game with the Lava Lance. So, that's pretty cool. I need to quickly take this video off because I'm running out of space on my camera. That's how I know it's been a half hour. But we're going to be back in literally 1 second. Okay, so since I just took that video file off there, because I said I had to stop the camera because it was running out, I knew I was over a half hour, but I'm like 38 minutes in, so a little bit of editing the intro and stuff like that too. So yeah, so basically I'm going to finish this off here now. I'm going to just talk about levels, because I haven't talked about the levels yet. So, y'all welcome. I told you I was going to talk over a half hour. I warned you. But, as I mentioned with all the characters, everything besides for that, everything all that, it doesn't really matter until, actually there's 2 more things I gotta mention. The levels. So if you look at the levels, the design of the levels are fantastic. Every single level has a mini story built into it. You go to each level, especially one of the ones I always like to bring up is the... Sorry I'm burping so much. I had another drink, a little brisk break before I filmed here. Before I started filming. I love the cloud, you know what I mean, the cloud one. Forget the name right off the head right now. I don't want to stumble and stuff, so I just want space to talk about it. I love the fact that you can take on Lord Stratosphere, and there's a main boss inside of it. Like, you go into that level and you think it's just going to be a main level, and then you walk in and it's like, you know what, I was going to give you this, but then our boss, you're like, I got a boss fight. Okay. Count Moneybone is back. If you don't know Count Moneybone, he was part of SWAT Force originally, but in this game he's brand new. So for myself who never played the SWAT Force DS version, which he came out on, I didn't know that. But he's actually an Easter egg in the SWAT Force, if you look at it. I should do an Easter egg video. I should have done an Easter egg video. I was going to do it years ago. I actually had it set up and edited and ready to go and didn't upload it because that was when I decided to take my month off that time. It was a while ago. He's actually an Easter egg, but he comes back in this game as a main villain, which you actually face off, and his boss fight is insanely unique. That level itself, the Land of the is that Land of the Undead? I think so. That level is so cool because of the fact that you literally defy gravity the entire time. You are walking at one point completely straight, and you pop through a thing, and now you're upside down, walking upside down. And then you pop, and now you're walking sideways. And that's one thing I love about that level, is that design of that level is insanely cool, because you're walking on one path, and then you hit the thing, and you can walk down the same path, except you're on the bottom of the bridge this time. Because you're walking by, and you're like, why is there a chest down there? How can I even get to that? It's upside down. Then you walk a little bit further, and you just pop into the thing, and now you're underneath it. That's one thing that's really cool about that level. I love the uniqueness of that level, the fact that you can flop and switch upside down and take out all these enemies, and then the final boss battle with him, when you're the vehicle and you pop around, you go through the teleporters and pop into the walls, and you go everywhere and all this, and it's so easy to beat him at some points because you can glitch the game, which is awesome. I think I did it in the Supercharged lock, if I'm not mistaken. I think I glitched the game and actually beat him with that. The Lord Stratosphere fight is really good too, just because it's a very simple fight, and that's in those levels. Looking at the rest of the levels, for example, everything has something unique to it. The Cloudbreak Core is one thing I really like too. Or the Crag, sorry. That one there is really cool because of the fact that you have the mini puzzle where you gotta put the gong together, and then when you hit the gong, a guy is just like, oh, hello! Oh, wait a minute, you're a Skylander, you're not supposed to be opening the door. And there's this continuing story with him until you get to the end where you gotta fight him. And he's like a super easy villain, but regardless, I love the fact that it bounces in between the fact that you can actually do vehicles and then switching to the actual characters themselves. Monsters Isles is my biggest one in that one. I love the fact that you set up with the vehicle and get to the first monster fight, but then you have the option to choose what vehicle you want to continue on. So the first one with the Terror Shark, that one's fine. You get there and you just fight that one really simple. But the second one you get to, you have the option to go underwater and follow her underwater, which is the sea mission. And then when you get that, you actually unlock some exclusive stuff that you can't get if you go the other way, which is just a regular path that leads to her and a regular fight. So each way you get to her, it leads to the same fight, but each way is different. So it encourages two different playthroughs, because one is complete driving where you can collect more stuff for your vehicle, while the second one is completing the Sea Star challenge, which you didn't have to get the first time or whatever, which I thought was really cool. And then the final battle, getting all the way to the actual last battle with him, it was so fantastic, where you just drive straight through it, destroy all the sandcastles, and then get to him and actually fight him to get that. Looking past Captain Cluck's headquarters, which I'm not a big fan of, I do like the fact that you can grow and shrink things. There's also an enemy that you can basically only defeat by growing a giant acorn and making him drop it on his own head. That's really cool. The fact that you can use it to defeat the Hammerhead guys, because they're insanely powerful, you use that move to actually shrink down their heads. You know what, that actual level's pretty good. I was going to say, I'm not really a fan of the driving part of that one. I'm actually a fan of the actual level itself. Looking at all the levels, they all have so many ups and downs. My favorite one being, and I love the pure irony of it, is the Gladfly Glades. Because I talked about it, I said we went from big to small. The Gladfly Glades is so cool because of the fact I love when they break fourth walls. And the fourth wall, this one is literally a fourth wall breaker. She is a collector, and she's a Skylander collector of all things. And he's like, oh, we have a Skylander. She's like, are you? And she starts flipping through it, all the Skylanders, and she's like, she's like, are you an elite? And it's just like, okay, I'm like, that fourth wall just got shattered. And along with that, whatever Skylander you're playing as appears behind Flynn. So whoever you're playing as just standing there, just going, just like bobbing up and down a little bit, just waiting. And then she shrinks, then it's just like, all you gotta do is get the worm from the actual cage. And oh, that's easy. But then she shrinks you down, the level becomes insanely tougher. But it's still insanely fun with it. And she's a fanboy the entire time. She's like, oh, you have a vehicle? And she starts freaking out about the fact that you have a vehicle. Every single level in this game is so much fun and so unique. I forget, Vault of the Ancients is the name of it, the one where you have the push-pull mechanic. Every single level gives you something new and fun to play with. And look at Robo's level, The Lost Imaginary Minds. They reintroduced that because people enjoyed it so much. They took a lot of stuff from this game and used it to their advantage in the next game, which they bombed terribly. And it's so cool that you can go back and play any of these levels all you want at any point you want because of the chapter select. And there's always something new and unique in the levels over and over again, even though it's something you may have played already in that point, but you can play over and over because it's just so much fun. You want to go back and play it because it's like, oh, this is a level where you can This is the level where you grow super big and you fight the monsters. Or this is the level where you shrink down super small. Or this is the one where you can use the things to grow and all this. It's awesome. The levels themselves make this game so much fun and want you to start from point A and go all the way to point B, beating all of them, unlocking all the chapters and all that stuff. Even the Bandit Train, which a lot of people don't enjoy, but the Bandit Train does give you a really good experience. I did lose a Ruptor in that one though, so it makes me a little bit sad. But looking back at it, the Bandit Train also gives you a funny thing where they take mags. And they're just like they showed up and they bombed your arena, not your arena, the academy. And you fight them off, but the whole thing was just to take Megs. And you gotta rescue Megs, and a lot of people feel like that's a filler. It is a filler, but it adds to the story, because when Megs gets there, she's like, oh, I found out something, this is where chaos is. So it leads to that point. It's all really cool that everything in the game leads to something else, and gets bigger and better because of it. And it's one thing that the continuing story continues the entire time, and it sprinkles in the racing at points too. A lot of people find it annoying that you have to race at certain, like you just drive from point A to point B. But I thought about this when I was in the shower this morning. How annoying is it to walk to a place and then to drive to a place? I don't have my license, so I can't say yes or no to that. But for a fact, like say if you wanted to go pick up food, how many times you look at delivery and be like, Jesus, $50, that makes it all the way get to delivery. But if I were to go pick it up, it would only be $35. It's like $15 for delivery, when you could just easily drive there. How annoying is it when it's raining outside and you gotta walk all the way to a location when you can easily drive and it only takes a couple minutes? Imagine taking a really slow character like Ninjini and walking through those levels. They added the racing element because the fact the levels are so long, they need to add the racing element because the levels were so long. And that's what I love. I love the fact that they literally incorporated a thing where it's just like, man, if you had to walk the whole way with this, you'd be drove instead of being driven. Get it? But that's one thing I thought was really cool, is that they sprinkled enough in there to make it like not hateful. Like I feel like I enjoy doing all the driving parts in this game. Even the side stuff with the Sea Star and the Sky Star, that's completely optional. Again, you don't have to do those to beat the main story of the game, which is pretty great. 100% of the game you have to though. But I love the fact that every single level gives you that option that sprinkles in a little bit of driving and stuff. Battleboro Island, you don't touch a vehicle at all. Think about it. And that's usually people's favorite levels because of that. But it does add a lot of cool things to that one too. The levels are fantastic when it comes to this game, and it adds to the story even better, which makes this game, in my opinion, perfect. After well over a half hour talking about it. You guys basically challenged me to this, you were curious about it, and I was curious if I could do it. I did this all from the top of my head. I had no previous knowledge of this. I did my best not to, I guess, train myself to remember stuff. I basically want to remember everything on the fly. I wanted to try to do this completely improv and see if I can do it, because if you have a passion for something, I feel like it's something that should just come naturally. And this entire thing came to me naturally. I had no hints, no nothing. I said the only time I really thought about it was this morning when I was getting ready to film this video, was when I thought about the video. And I was mostly just trying to figure out what I was saying during the intro and how long it would take me. I knew I was going to go over a half hour, because once I got on a tangent, with just me in general, I will go over a half hour. I also talked basically for over a half hour, so you can see that I've been doing videos for a very long time. But yes, it's definitely my favorite game in the franchise. I like this challenge that I can sit here and I hopefully open up your eyes to it too. I know I said at the beginning, like, Superchargers is the best game, and you're wrong. Again, you're open to your opinions. If you don't think it's the best game, why'd you sit here for 40 plus minutes listening to me tell you why it's the best game? Think about that. Make your own video. Sit down for 40 minutes and over 40 minutes and talk about why Giants is the best game. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. I know this is a very interesting video compared to, the last 2 weeks when I did the every rankings. And now this week, I just pumped out a 40 plus minute video of me talking about one game. You're welcome. We're going to be doing some more videos next week. I'm hopefully going to be recording them soon. I just realized that, I don't know when I'm actually going to sit down and record those. I'm going to do all three of them one day anyways. But yes, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, let me know. Leave a like and comment below. Let me know if you enjoy Superchargers or not. You don't need to leave a 40-minute comment if you don't want to. But go for it. That'd be fun. Type away. Have fun. Shh. But if you guys enjoyed, let me know, leave a like and a comment below. Come back next week for another video on Saturday. And as always, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed this as my first video. Tuesdays and Fridays are new videos along with Saturdays, so I try to upload 3 times a week. If everything goes smoothly, I might start uploading an extra day in the upcoming weeks because of a new series, which I'm probably not going to get done anytime soon, so why am I even hinting this? It's probably not going to happen at all. Oopsie. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, let me know, leave a like in the comment below. Thank you all so much for watching this entire thing. If you did watch this entire thing, say in the comments, Spitfire? With a question mark? Really? That's what you say. If you made it this far, just say Spitfire? Really? With question marks everywhere. But as always, I bid you farewell.